Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have some gentlemen sometimes joining us at the Cool Chick Cafe, and we are streaming live on other platforms on YouTube and also on Facebook. So, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Jessica, and I am here to talk and interview actually somebody very special about radical self care and true wellness. This is part 4 of a series, and if you haven't tuned in, and this is for our amazing ladies, if you haven't gone to the Cool Chick Cafe, coolchick.cafe, you can see all of our previous episodes. We have a ton of content on radical self-care and true wellness as well as other content. Now, I have a very special guest this month. Every month we have my dear friend and amazing coach, um, Dr. Lisa Yeung. Dr. Lisa is an MD. She's a family medicine doctor and medical director. She was in the front lines of the pandemic. She supported us here at the Cool Chick Cafe throughout with all our questions and our concerns. And really helping us through not only COVID, but also taking care of ourselves because she has a very holistic approach. She talks more about prevention, about wellness, than kind of treating the symptoms, right? She really wants to go down at the core issues. And she's become a life coach specializing in really supporting us in this area of our lives, among other things that you'll discover along this next few months. And if you work with her, you'll see she's personally really embodied it. I've seen the transformation she's gone through. And Lisa is not the same person that she was 2 years ago. I can tell you that, or even 4 years ago. She's completely different than a year ago because she practices and implements it every single day. And she implements what she preaches. I don't know. She does what she teaches. She does what I don't know. There's an expression around that. She's the teacher living the teachings. And yes, as I mentioned, today is part 4 of radical self-care and true wellness. And I really encourage you to put in any questions you may have, any thoughts, comments, ideas on the chat, on the comment section. If you're either on YouTube or Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., we will see that on our platform and we can bring those up and share those with Lisa. So without any further ado, please help me in welcoming Dr. Lisa Yeung. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. And thank you so much, Jessica, for that beautiful intro. I really appreciate it. And yes, walk the talk, Diane.
That's the expression. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And you're so right. It's kind of mind-blowing sometimes to realize how far I've come and how much I've changed in even less than a year at times. And then to take that out 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. So thank you for pointing that out and reminding me as well.
Yes, super excited. I'm seeing some comments and I actually having some messaging. Hello, Sev. I got some message at one of a few have been messaged like, where's the link? I can't find the link. So we just have some people pouring in, handling that. So sorry if I seemed a little off track. So, for those who are just joining us and haven't seen any of your other material, Lisa, what is radical self-care?
So we've had a few videos on this already, and I'm just I pulled it up here. This is a definition, a term that I coined myself, actually, because I was trying to differentiate it from just self-care that we throw around and we talk about all the time. And so I decided to call it radical self-care. And my definition that I created is consciously and consistently providing what your mind, body, and spirit needs in any given moment to truly thrive and flourish no matter what. And so in the previous calls, we've gone a little bit deeper into the definition and what all of this means. And right now for today, I just want to really point out that this definition, the main points of it is that it's non-negotiable. So no matter what, you're doing this. And that's what makes it radical self-care. It doesn't matter what is going on in your life, you're going to do it no matter what. 2, that it's in any given moment. So you're assessing how you're feeling and what you need in every single moment. And that may change moment to moment. And the other point that's really important to me is that it's very conscious and consistent, meaning that you're doing it very intentionally, very thoughtfully, and you're getting in touch with your body and getting the answer from there, and doing it consistently throughout the day, every single day, multiple times a day. And so those are the 3 points that I want to make sure that people understand. When I'm saying radical self-care, that's what I am talking about.
Really spent a lot of time, and we talk about it as well. Oh, was I muted?
Yeah, you.
What I like, I know that this is a topic that's super important to you, and you've spent a lot of time talking about this. Why? Like you've worked with thousands of patients. You were clinical director of multiple clinics here in New York, and there's many things I mean, you've delivered babies. It was really funny when you said you've had so many babies the other day. I thought I've not actually had that many babies.
No.
You've delivered babies. You've treated people who were doing drugs and have stopped doing drugs. You've done so much stuff, and then now you're also you're really focusing on this. Why is it so important to be focusing on this area of life?
For me, I realized recently through my own journey, through my own personal development and the growth that I've done, why it is so important. Because even though I knew it in theory, I wasn't actually truly embodying it in my life in a way that was making the difference and really embodying radical self-care. And so what I've come to realize is now that I'm finally living it, and it's still a work in progress, right? That I can always get better. But now that I'm more fully embodying, really taking care of myself in this radical way, not only am I more healthy and well and really thriving in the moment, like we talked about true wellness in a previous talk. And to me, true wellness is thriving and not just surviving or just getting by. And so now I feel like I've truly shifted into the thriving. I'm not surviving. I'm not just getting by. I'm not burnt out and just numbing and distracting. I'm actually living my best life ever. And I'm feeling the best that I've ever felt on a mind, body, and soul level. And that's because I've taken the steps, even though self-care seems so basic and simple, I've taken the steps to really embody it. And now that I'm doing it, it's like, oh my God, this is what I was missing the whole time. This is now the key that has shifted my life into a whole nother realm of possibility that I didn't even realize was possible. And so I wanted to take the time to really focus on this, because some people might dismiss it and say, oh, of course, that's easy. That's simple. Like, that's easy. Like, why are we bothering to spend so much time talking on this? This is our fourth talk on this, the coffee break. And it's for a reason. It's because I thought I knew it. And I was one of those people like, oh yeah, of course, I know. And until I really truly shifted and made some changes in myself and really am now embodying it, now I see how it can not only help me feel better in the moment, it also is, we talked about this also physiologically, how it can prevent long-term illness. And in that way, also save you time, energy, and money. And in fact, even improve your level of productivity and creativity, because you're working from a place of alignment and flow. And we talked about all of those in more detail in our previous talks. So I just wanted to, that's why it's so important. And that's why we have been talking about it for the past few months.
Yes, I love one thing that you just touched on. It can prevent or even reverse. I don't know if you said that verbatim at all, but I think we're in alignment with this thought, is chronic illness and really debilitating issues in our health, and things that people are kind of treating. I'm not saying don't get rid of medication, and I'm not sure you're definitely not saying that either, but we know for a fact, and we've seen people who have reversed a lot of things that have been treated by medication and numbing, or even alcohol, or other drugs that are not prescription drugs, by just taking the baby steps of self-care, radical self-care, and then making those changes, have in a very short period of time, like you're saying, even in your life, and we've seen it in my life and the people around us, where it's radically changed. our life by just making those adjustments every single day.
Yes.
And so thank you so for touching on that and how important it is to make those adjustments. It is vital. It is vital for yourself, for the people around you, and for creating the life that you want. Like, what kind of mother, what kind of daughter, what kind of father, what kind of husband do you want to be? You know?
Yeah, and it was in our the first two talks that I talked a little bit more about the physiology and the medical part of it that you're touching upon in terms of why is it that, like, taking the time to take care of yourself really radically now can prevent these chronic illnesses that you're talking about. I sort of walk through the fight or flight, parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. And then also the things that we do short term. We all, have probably done it, even if it's coffee or alcohol. Coffee to wake ourselves up so we can get more work done, alcohol to unwind at night, and the list goes on, and that over time can cause health problems. So if we're
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves so radically that we don't need those things, imagine all of the problems that we're also preventing health wise.
Yes, and clarity of mind, your emotions, like it impacts every single area of your life. So, real quick, Lisa, if you could, I know that last time we touched on that, and for those who haven't, you can look, who haven't tuned into our past 4 sessions, 3 sessions on radical self-care. If you can go on the Facebook group and also on the coolchick.cafe website. It's free, and there's a ton of other content. So if you want to go on there, it's coolchick.cafe, sign up, go on there and see all the recordings. There's a ton of valuable content, and also stuff that Dr. Lisa talks about with COVID or other health issues or different things that we've been doing this for nearly a year now, I think, if not over. So really tune in. So just real quick, if we can recap last week, because we have some really cool things we're going to be talking about during this call. So tune in if you did listen. But I want to, before we go into, the common reasons you found people don't practice it, or the mistakes we make when we're practicing self-care, or the things not to do, we're going to be touching base on that. We're going to talk about that. And also the type of things that are not, that we think are self-care but aren't really self-care. So we'll touch on that. But real quick, can we just reiterate last month's topic of how do you practice self-care? Like, can you just summarize, like, how do we actually do it?
So first of all, as I said last time, it's very individual in terms of what will really be filling for you and what will be part of your radical self-care cocktail or menu, let's say. And I want to summarize last time's talk in a sort of something that's more easy to remember, and I would say 3 steps. So, and big picture steps, and we can go into more detail of each of them. But the big picture steps, I would say step number 1 is awareness, right? As with anything else, really being aware of what is happening, how you're feeling day to day. And I had gone through a couple of brief examples of how to do this. One, awareness of taking, like, awareness throughout the day, one, of the things that are coming up, what your body's needing, what you're feeling, if you're feeling depleted or energized, when you're feeling that, what caused that, and also what are the voices in your head that might be preventing you from doing the self-care that you think you might need. Like last time we had an example, someone was like, well, how do I know if I need to take a nap or clean my office? Like, how do I decide? Both of those can count as self-care. And so if you're in your voice, if in your head, I really want to lie down, I'm really tired, but your voice is like, oh, I have this dirty office that I need to clean, that can get in your way. And so starting to notice. So I would say step 1 is awareness of how you're feeling throughout the day, what the things are that are leading to those feelings in terms of your energy level, your emotions, and also the voices that start coming up in your head that may be preventing you from doing what your body really truly needs. And then step number 2, we talked a fair amount about this on the last call. I would call mindset. So basically, mindset and psychology is behind 80% of anything, right? If you want to make a change in your life. And we talked about this a lot last time in terms of, a lot of times we don't realize that there are beliefs that are causing us to behave a certain way. that are causing us to not take the steps that we know will make us feel good, that will be the best for us, right? Even if you take it, so uncovering those beliefs, for me, I realized that I grew up with a mindset that life is not to be enjoyed. Life is about hard work. And in fact, you get your worth and your value through working hard, through achieving, through doing, through showing, checking off these boxes on a life that that other people wanted me to live, right? And so that was what I was doing all the time, and I was burning myself out, not taking care of myself. And I didn't realize that every time I needed to get more rest or take more care of myself, I didn't do so, because I was like, I always had this endless list of things to do. And the underlying driver to feel loved, to feel that I was worthy, was so strong that I couldn't overcome that until I realized, oh my God, this is what's going on. I believe this. And I don't think I'm worthy unless I do. And therefore, of course, I never take care of myself because I always have to keep doing. And once I recovered that and then worked through that with my own coach, that's when everything started opening up. And so the second piece that I think is very fundamental, because like we said last time, how many of us know the things that we need to do to achieve whatever goal it is, whether it be losing weight, getting more fit, whatever it is that we want to do in life? We all know the steps in theory for the most part. And it's more about what are the beliefs that we have that often are subconscious that are preventing us from accomplishing those goals, from taking the steps that we know that we need to do, and sometimes causing us to even self-sabotage, right? So step number, and so that's mindset. And I would say that's probably the most important part. And especially if you have a coach that can work through and help you identify and then help you work through and basically let go of some of these beliefs, that can be super powerful. And then the last piece I would say is strategy. So strategy is the actual steps. And we talked about a few examples. Like I mentioned in the beginning, what you might need in any moment, if you're really doing radical self-care, it may change. It's different from person to person, what'll fill you up. It's also different moment to moment, day to day, what you might need and how much you might need. And so the strategy, one of the ideas that I came up with that for you guys that you can go home and do right now, is come up with a whole menu, huge list of things that you can do of self-care, that some of them might take seconds, minutes, hours, and create a menu of yourself that you can choose from, and then creating a strategy of when you notice that you need self-care, picking from one of those things, right? For example, or creating a morning routine where it can be very simple, setting yourself up for success and creating a morning routine that you stick to that will help you start off the day on a good foot. And then those 3 steps, I would continue to essentially rinse and repeat, right? Reassess how you're doing, see how you're feeling, continue with awareness, and then mindset, and then strategy, and going back and forth through all those. And that's how that I would say is a basic summary. Of course, there's so many details within each of those steps, but that's a basic summary.
Yes, and we did cover them in the past few videos. So please, 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 if you haven't watched them, go back. And even if you have watched them, go back anyways. It's always good to get a refresher. So I guess my next question, and I think this is super interesting. What are, the differences? Because a lot of what you've spoken about, right? Like it can be very easy to go in one ear and out the other. It's like, yeah, I know this. Yeah, I know this. And we do it once in a while and we practice it. It's not radical self-care. It's like, yeah, I do it once in a while. But what's the difference, especially for you, because you're an MD, you've known this stuff for years, but it's only like in the past few years that you've actually applied it. What's the difference between knowing this and actually embodying and implementing it?
So for me, what made the most difference was the mindset piece that I just touched upon, and really realizing, why is it that I'm not doing the things to take care of myself? Why am I feeling so burnt out? Why am I exhausted at the end of the day and then not feeling excited about the things that I used to love to do, including taking care of my patients and my coaching clients and things like that? And then, in addition to that, once I worked through that with my own processes and also with my own coach, the next step was giving myself permission to take care of myself, no matter
Oh,
how,
that's such a
what
big
that
one.
exactly. I don't think
I
we
was
give
just
it.
talking about I was just talking about it, and I think there's the person's actually on this call, where so many of us find that we need to do things for our spouses or our parents. That's a big one, taking care of our parents, especially like we owe it to them. And especially with its different dynamics, right? Different generations, complete different countries and cultures coming together, you know. Um, and it's tough. It's tough. It's like, well, I'm supposed to be taking care of that. They require so much of my time, my energy, but then at the same time, here I'm feeling depleted. Like what's right and what I need may feel different. What's right. So yeah, I
So
feel like it's so giving ourselves permission is so huge. How did you do that?
I'm still practicing it every day because I notice how it comes up. And this is where the first step that I said in the how, the awareness and the noticing what comes up for you, is important to practice continuously. It's not just like we said last time, it's not you do it once and then you have it set. You're forming the habit of tuning into your body, of listening to yourself, and then giving yourself permission to give your body, your mind, and your soul what it needs in that moment. And so for me, I'm still doing it. I'm still learning. I'm like, oh, and I notice when I'm not giving myself permission to relax. And so actually, just this past weekend, I was feeling depleted, and there was part of me that's like, oh no, I need to get these things done. I need to get my work done, and also I have all these plans with these people and with friends, and that would, I finally like heard myself with all these shoulds. I need to, I should, all this to-do list stuff. And then I said, no, I told myself I'm going to take care of me first so that I can show up better for everyone else. And I gave myself permission to say no to certain plans, even though I would have loved to join them, because I knew that in that moment I needed more rest and I needed more sleep and I needed just quiet time to myself. And on
It's
top of
not
that,
easy. It's
no,
not easy to choose that, right? It's like
no.
it's actually really eventually becomes easy because people start acknowledging that things have changed and things are different. There's different boundaries, there's different things that have been like you're different, right? You've evolved, you've grown, and they but between the before and the new, there's a really hard part of like it takes a lot of courage. I call it peaceful courage,
Hmm.
staying in our peace and having the courage to do what we need to do. Like need, it's like a need. It's like breathing. It's air,
Well,
right?
that's the thing. So it's giving myself permission, and that permission is actually very tightly intertwined with loving myself. Loving myself and honoring myself enough to give myself permission to say no or to rest instead of force myself to do the work. And they're very closely intertwined, and so I've done a lot of work myself on self-love and self-worth, and I've noticed that with my clients too, my coaching clients, that's what comes up a lot when they're having trouble and they're stuck in a place where one client, knew that she needed to leave a relationship, and another one knew that she needed to leave a job. Both of them, at the end of the day, when we peeled back all the layers and I did coaching with them, it came to feeling that they were worthy of love. And once they were worthy of love just by being themselves, without having to prove it to anyone else or do anything else or be anything for anyone else, that's when and we did processes around these and I coached them through that. When they finally got there, that's when they could finally truly give themselves permission to do what they needed for
A
themselves.
lot of things kind of go like are rooted on the deserving aspect. Do I deserve what I need? Oh, I don't feel deserving of it, so I will not ask. I will not do what I need to be good, to feel good, to be healthy, to focus on my needs. It's really interesting. And you've mentioned your clients and coaching clients, and I think that it's super. I hope it's okay that I prepared this link here. I am giving your time away. So this is a gift, and you don't have to have insurance. It's actually a gift where you can spend a few minutes with Lisa and talking about that, right? Is it deserving? Do you have questions? And it's 100% a gift. You just type call.lisayoungmd.com. Lisa Young, spelled Yeung, md.com. So call.lisayoungmd.com. And you will have a few minutes to talk to Lisa and dive a little deeper. And yes, maybe end up doing some coaching calls, but there's no commitment, no don't feel obligated to do anything, right, Lisa? You just want to connect, give value, share, and support those who are supporting you as well and supporting us here at the Cool Chick Cafe. So please make note of this link, call.lisayoungmd.com, and you can schedule some time on her calendar. That's a gift. Or but there are some more questions, and I'm very time conscious, and I want to keep time integrity. Unless you're okay going a little over time, but is it okay if I just jump real quick to some of the questions that have come through, and
Sure.
also some promises, because there's really one of the things. It's like, what are the mistakes a lot of people do when they practice self-care? Like, what are the things not to do? And it kind of also ties into the type of self-care that people think is self-care, but may not really be self-care, or may not think it's typical self-care. So there's kind of a lot to unpack on there. And I think we're kind of seeding onto our next call
Yeah, we
because
can
just
save
so
some of
much
the
to
rest
talk
for,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
always have
what are
so
your
much
thoughts?
I always have so much to share on this topic, and I feel like we run out of time. And hopefully everyone is finding it, excuse me, helpful, because this is a topic that I've become so passionate about, because it's a big part of what has changed my life and still changing my life, and allowing me to really show up as my best self, and to be able to help even more people, and show up in flow, in just being, and being able to help people more than I ever have been when I was burned out and tired, even though I was on the front lines and as a doctor. So one of the things that I would share in terms of like don't do's, or like common mistakes, sometimes we well, I think it's common and for people to numb and distract. And by numb and distract, I mean, if you're feeling, yeah.
I need a crown for that one.
So sometimes we may be feeling stressed, we may be feeling strong emotions, or we may be having some sort of conflict with another person or a colleague, and it may be something contentious or something confrontational that we're afraid to look at or to confront. And so um, instead of addressing those at the source of it, the stress or the emotions or the confrontation or conflict, we can numb and distract. And there's so many ways now in society to numb and distract. It can be scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, mindlessly watching TV, the things that you're doing that aren't actually filling your cup, but they're just numbing you just enough so that you're not feeling those strong, intense emotions, or they're distracting you from what's really going on in your life, or the decision that you need to make, or the conversation you need to have with your loved one about something that's really difficult. And a certain level of that sometimes can be helpful, right? Sometimes we need a break from really intense emotions. And sometimes our body, our nervous system can use a brief break. And yet, if you notice that you're doing it all day long or many hours at a time and it's not filling your cup, then that can be problematic, because not only are you not addressing or getting to the source of the problem, of the stress or the strong emotions or potentially that conflict, you're also not filling your cup at the same time. And so often after, especially a long period of time of numbing and distracting, you may notice hours or even days, or sometimes for people like even weeks, if it's really extreme, go by and all of a sudden you're feeling worse because you haven't filled your cup up and you haven't addressed the issue. So now all of a sudden everything's built up and you feel worse and probably end up criticizing or beating yourself up for not feeling good either way. And so that's something that I want to make sure that the mindfulness part, the step one that I said in the how, being aware of when you're numbing, distracting, also what's numbing and distracting for you versus what is actually filling your cup. So if watching that TV show is really going to get you in a great mood and you're going to laugh and you're going to feel good and you're really going to be like present and engaged in it, great. But if you're turning on that TV show and you're going to leave it on for hours, you're not really watching and you're not really enjoying it, but you're not really doing anything else, and you just kind of numb and watching it out of from that place, then maybe there's something else that can better fill your time and that can better fill your cup so that you can show up in a better way. And then the other thing I would say is making self-care into a to-do list. So I I was a culprit of this, definitely, because I had my to-do list of things I need to do. And so, I need to do self-care. Of course, now I'm going to create a to-do list of things I need to do for my self-care, right? And even schedule it out or plan it out. And to a certain extent, planning it out and making it non-negotiable in your schedule is great. And yet, why I defined radical self-care the way I did, in terms of consistently and consciously like tuning in and then providing what your body needs, is because in any given moment it's not the same, what you might need or what might fill you up, how much you might need in any given moment. And so if you come at it from almost like a to-do list, should, obligation standpoint, it probably won't fill you up because you're just doing it to check off the box, as opposed to doing it because, okay, this is what I need in this moment, and I'm going to listen to my body and honor myself in that way. And those are two very different things, and makes a huge difference. And so for now, I will say those are the two common mistakes or not to do things that I would share with you guys. And both of these are both from my personal experience as well as from talking to numerous coaching clients and even my own patients as well.
Yes. Oh, this was so helpful and so, so useful. And I think we could spend hours on it. We do have a self-love summit coming up in Puerto Rico. Super excited about that. I'm actually pulling up the dates right now. Do you remember the dates?
Yes, October 16th and 17th.
October 16th and 17th. It will be strange, but we are having an in-person seminar. So please, if you can make it to Puerto Rico, have a look. There's some really good cheap flights right now going on to Puerto Rico. Look up at your flights, find out, get more information, come join us for, this could be really part of your radical self-care, and taking the time to come down, fly down, only for ladies. Sorry, gentlemen. This is for the Cool Chick Cafe. So for ladies, to come down to Puerto Rico and enjoy 2 days of radical self-care. We're going to be doing a self-love summit. We'll have experts coming in and different areas. We're going to talk about your mind, body, and soul, and really, really take care of yourself in a very loving, caring, supportive sisterhood environment. I think that's kind of, and it's really funny because a lot of time I didn't really hang out with a bunch of girls like growing up when I was a kid. And now I have a bunch of girlfriends, and they're real girlfriends. It's not like I don't know if there are kids watching, so I'm not going to say the B word, but you know what I mean. And there's still people who trigger me, and there's still people out there. And I choose to hang out with people that are just so heart-centered and loving. And we have our confrontations and we have our challenges. Yeah, of course, any relationship, but it's always so loving, so caring, and we grow stronger together. And I'm so proud to call you my sister and my friend and my coach and so much more. Um, Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming
Mm,
on, always sharing such valuable information with
thank
open
you.
heart. And we have some lots of love pouring in. Thank you, Sev. Thank you, Diane. Oh my goodness. We have also Lisa, another Lisa here. So thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Lisa, any final thoughts before we go?
A couple came up as you were talking. From self-care and self-love is just about as much about doing the things to take care of yourself, which a lot of people see as adding things onto your schedule, but it's also, or to your day, but it's also just about as much about taking away the things and maybe that are not aligned with you anymore or not serving you or maybe bringing up like are depleting you, right? And this is something that perhaps we'll go into a little bit more next time, but it's about in terms of answering the question of like what made the most difference for me. Part of it is honoring myself enough to feel what's aligned with me and then following that, even if that might mean that I am spending less time doing things that I was doing before with people that realized were depleting my energy, and honoring myself enough to be okay with that. And so following the bliss of this beautiful community of women and that we have created together at the Cool Chicks of that are also aligned, but that also may mean less time with other people. And that's okay, because as long as we're all following what's most aligned for us and taking care of us, then we're all each and every one of us showing up as the best version of ourselves. Then overall, just I feel like that'll bring just so much more peace and joy and love to the whole world, and the world will just be a better place. And I think if we can honor and love ourselves enough to do that for ourselves, then overall we're helping everyone else around us. And so thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being my lovely host. Oh, I can't hear you.
It helps when I unmute myself. Dear, you'd think that after all this years of doing Facebook Lives and I would know how to, you know, anyways. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Sev. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, please take this opportunity, this gift of being able to have a chat with Lisa. That's called lisayoungmd.com. And you can schedule a quick chat or on Instagram, YoungDoc at YoungDoc. And that's YEUNG doc, DOC. And you can connect with Lisa that way, or also on Facebook, Dr. Lisa Yeung. There's multiple ways. Just reach out, have a chat. We love to talk to you. And you can always reach out to me as well, of course. And we'll connect and talk more about the Cool Chick Cafe, about the Self Love Summit, and of course, about our amazing MD here, Dr. Lisa Yeung. Thanks for tuning in. And again, here's the link. Yeah, I think mic drop moment is she's a rock star. Just give her a call.
Aw, love you
Take care,
guys.
everybody.